All right. Go live, go live. There we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, Akalon here, of course, welcome back to each and every one of you. I hope that you guys are doing well. Sorry, just got notifications on my phone. If you're watching this over on YouTube, please remember to hit the like button and also, hit that link in the description down below. Because it's always better when it's live. Oh my god. Everything's fucking changed again. Okay. Just go with that for now. All right. Yeah, it's the start of a new week. I've of course not learned my lesson yet. Apparently, I still try to make plans when in reality I should not try to make plans because this is South Africa. Making plans is just absolutely useless. Yesterday everything was going well. You know, we've had load shedding, but it's been stage 2 load shedding, which effectively means that in Cape Town we didn't have load shedding. We only had load shedding from 10 o'clock in the evenings. The rest of the time we didn't have any. And then yesterday they announced that it's being increased from stage 2 to stage 3 until further notice. And then suddenly Cape Town's load shedding is back. Sashi, how you doing? Sanguinius, how you doing, bro? First time you watching live. Hey, happy to have you here, brother. Zucchini, how you doing? Squizix, how you doing? I'm glad to see everyone filtering in. Today's stream is gonna be a shorter one, which is fucking sad because the new WoW cinematic is coming out. But yeah, my power's going out, so you know, we make do with what we've got. So yeah, we're gonna do a short stream before my power goes out, and then I'll leave you guys until tomorrow, I guess. Ibalas, how you doing, brother? But yeah, it's just another lesson of don't try to make plans in South Africa because it means absolutely jack shit, and Eskom will fuck you over if you try to plan anything. So yeah, sad as shit, but you know. Brood Tiful Gaming, how you doing, brother? Thank you so much for the first time chat. Really appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good morning, for fuck's sake. New fucking job tomorrow, so no more streams for me. I just want to be in need. Ah, Gilgamesh, what job is it that you're starting tomorrow? You could always watch it work, right? Just grab your phone and watch a bit of stream. Not a problem. No, phone. It related? What do you mean it related? Oh, IT related. Okay. It's the power out stuff because of any specific reason. So again, yeah, my country has had this issue since 2008. So it's just a mismanagement issue and a maintenance issue and a corruption issue and yeah, whatever, you know. We don't have enough electricity in the country to serve every single person within the country, and they don't have money to fix it, because whenever they do try to fix it, the money gets stolen and inflated and bullshit. What country is it that you hail from? Shrek, how you doing, brother? I come from South Africa. Well, I'm in South Africa as well. CDJ, how you doing, bro? Ah, Sanguinius, don't worry about it, man. Thank you, but it's not a problem. I mean, you learn to live with it as best you can. It just sucks when the power goes out, you know, middle of the day. That's really annoying. So tomorrow, for example, if nothing changes, so fucking fingers crossed, but where's Pi doing, brother? Tomorrow we won't have load shedding at all during the day. My power's only going out late afternoon, which is great, you know, because I get to still finish my stream normal time, you know, have the entire day for myself to work and all that shit. Today is just one of those horrible days where the power, like, literally the time slot that I'm in just ruins my entire day. Because you basically get started, power goes out, everything stops, and then by the time it comes back on, it's evening time. So what's the point? We're level 3 currently, eh? I believe the rest of South Africa is on level 3, yes. Here in Cape Town, we're on level 2, I think. Yeah, level 2. You need to make the YouTube mega box and change countries. Shrek, yeah, I do, actually. I'm working on it. Although I probably wouldn't change countries. I would just get solar. You know, that's the thing that I'm saving for right now. Saving up to go at least start off with a battery solution. So before I even go solar, just get a battery that can sort of power the lights and the PC and all that stuff. And then, you know, slowly but surely over time, I can add to it and eventually go solar panels and, you know, just get myself off the grid effectively. That's what I'm planning to do. I mean, it's going to be expensive, but I think it still would be cheaper than moving country. Moving country is like hella fucking expensive. I've said it to you, Akko, many times. Come to Poland. Yeah, give me the fucking money to come to Poland. Like, Jesus. You guys... It's not cheap, right? Isn't the problem, though, even if you get that your local node for internet will be shut down as well? Wisps, not really. I mean, so, for example, whenever we've had load shedding in the past, especially once we move to, like, stage 6, stage 7, where the power can sometimes be off for, like, 4 hours at a time. Or, you know, we once had it where we were on stage 6, the power went out at 8 o'clock, came back at 10 o'clock, this is in the morning, went out again at 12 o'clock, came back at 2 o'clock, and went out again at 4 o'clock. So we were like, dude, what the fuck? Like, there's like 4 hours in this day where we're gonna have electricity, the rest of the time we're not gonna. So we just fired up the generator and worked on it for the whole day. And the internet is fine. The internet is unaffected. So I don't know if most of it runs on batteries or if it doesn't require electricity, even though that would be weird. But I guess most of it is fiber. So it doesn't need to have electricity except for on the like major nodes, I guess. It's 3 a.m. here. What is this madness? Luna, why the fuck are you not asleep? How was work? I see. Or I mean, they could just be excluded as well, I guess. Dude. Things are excluded. Do you know that for the last 5 years, the hospitals in South Africa have been fighting like fucking nuts to get exclusion from load shedding? Like, even hospitals suffered load shedding. So, yeah, no. Things do not get excluded here. They finally, excluded 18, power stations. I got so much to do tomorrow, but you can't make me. What do you have to do, Luna? Does South Africa have any nuclear plants? Muster Jol? Yes. 1. And, So, every morning after gym, we go to the beach, right? I think I told you guys before. So I go to the beach, I have tea. I literally have my tea with me. And then we've made like a bunch of friends there. Nordic Psycho, you bastard. 8 months, part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate you, fam. Thank you. So we've made a couple of friends there. And one of the guys we've befriended, one of the guys is like massively into stocks and, you know, day trader stuff. The other guy is the guy that literally makes the tea and coffee and shit. And then one of the guys is he's a crane driver. Like, so he operates a crane operator. He operates the crane at the harbor, right? So like he knows exactly what's going on in South Africa. And one of the turbines for Unit 2 at Kubarg. Kubarg is our nuclear power plant. The turbine was in for repairs. So there was maintenance that needed to be done. Now, this turbine weighs like, I don't know, 300 tons or some shit like this. And they sent the turbine to China to have it repaired and do maintenance on it and whatnot. And in China, they dropped this turbine on, at the harbor. They dropped it and smashed it. So, according to this guy, it's going to be probably a year, if not longer, for them to replace this turbine. And we already don't have enough electricity, so this is just amazing. You know, packing, get my nails done, do a print thing, laundry, probably more packing. Then I fly to Florida for a wedding on Wednesday. Oh, nice. Nice. Who's getting married, Luna? By the way, what's the level you were talking about? I guess it's areas or something for the shedding. Oh, wisps. Yeah, so we have levels. We had the same levels during COVID. You know, they would go like, oh my God, it's level 5. And then people in South Africa just be like, well, fuck you. And then they'd say, oh, it's level 4. And people in South Africa are like, fuck you. And then it's like level 3. And people in South Africa are like, well, fuck you. Right? So they have these levels. It makes them feel important. The levels basically just mean how much do you get load shedded. So it effectively, it translates to how big is the shortfall of electricity. Luna, take care of yourself. Enjoy your wedding. So on stage 1, the shortfall is 1,500 megawatts. So whenever the country needs 1,500 megawatts more than what can be provided, we have stage 1 load shedding. And every stage is about, between 1,250 and 1,500. Have a great whatever time of the day it is for you. Luna, it's 10 o'clock in the morning for me. So my day's just starting. If you go to the beach each day, could you snap a photo each day of the ocean and put it on Patreon or on Insta? Zucchini, yeah, sure. I can do that. I go there literally every single morning after gym. It's part of my daily routine. And it's awesome because, especially now, the beach is starting to really get busy. Like, there's a shit ton of people down at the beach. And a lot of the girls are taking their morning jogs on the beach. So, it's some good fucking looking. Have you heard about the false rape allegations against Hassan Piker? No? I know there's been, false rape allegations made against Destiny. I don't know if Hassan Piker had the same shit happen to him. So you played God of War. Did you like it? Oh, Nordic, yes. Yes, God of War is amazing. We'll probably play it again at some point. I'm just sort of bored of it now. Not that it's a bad game. It's a very good game, but I get bored quickly. So we'll probably play what I'm in the mood for now, but I can't because we don't have time for it. But what I am in the mood for now is Space Marine. Like, if we had a normal stream day ahead of us, we would be playing Space Marine right now until maybe 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and then we'd switch to WoW and just do some reactions and stuff. But we don't have time for that. We don't have time, chat. We don't have time. I'm telling you now. There's no gaming going to be done here today. There's no time. Lavlun went after her son after Destiny claimed he slept with a 17-year-old. She was 19. Wait, Lav? Are you talking about Lav, the crazy fucking chick that said she's against porn, but then immediately started her OnlyFans again and shit like that? Is that the chick you're talking about? Oh, right. Yeah, this was wild to me. So this fucking Lav chick, right? She's she all outspoken about how bad porn is and how bad OnlyFans is and all that shit. She used to be a porn star or some shit, by the way. And then as it turns out, 2 days later, she's back on fucking OnlyFans. But her excuse is she's now doing tutorials on how to use a dildo. And it's like, bitch, please. Fuck you. I'm sorry, what? So yeah, that was the wildest shit ever. It's still porn, you idiot. Yeah, I'm just sticking this dildo in me for educational purposes. Yeah, how many guys are watching that versus how many girls do you think are watching that? Plus, not to lie, but I have never even used a dildo, and it's sort of self-explanatory to me what you would do with it. If someone gave me a dildo now, I wouldn't be lost. I wouldn't be like, oh my god, what do you do with this thing? I would look at it, the shape would sort of give away what you do with it, and I'd be like, oh, here we go. I have figured it out. Part 1, which end do you use? You put it out and repeat? Yeah, exactly. Shouldn't be hard, right? It's not porn, it's education. The weird one. Hey, I don't judge porn, right? I think porn is really bad for you, but I don't judge it. I think people do whatever the fuck they want, right? What I don't like is hypocrisy. I don't like people who say, oh my god, fuck porn, porn is so evil and bad for you, and then they watch it themselves. I'll be the first person to admit, yeah, it's bad for you. I still fucking watch it, right? I'm no saint. I never pretended to be a fucking saint. It's not for stirring your coffee, that's for sure. Depends, though. There might be people with that kind of kink, Jake Reaper not today, no. Shirley was the reason people hate on porn. Yeah, I don't know if she was the reason people hate on porn. If Shanice porn, 80% of this chat will go on sabbatical. But the vibration is good for foaming the milk. Dude, no. Like, no, even if. So, let's say you get yourself a dildo and it's never been used before. I would still, like, I would be disgusted if you used that to make my fucking coffee, bro. Like, that, just the thought of it is too much. That when finding a life partner, a high body count for women is not attractive, but for men, it doesn't matter. Max, I mean, it's not whether I agree or not agree. It's what the studies show us. So when they go around and ask men and women, you know, what's the highest body count? It does appear as if for women, it's anywhere from 9 to infinity. In terms of the guys that they have dated and would date. So women don't seem to put that much onus on body count. Whereas when they ask men, it seems like 2, 3 is like the max. Like as soon as a girl goes over 3, guys just start losing interest fast. So that's what these studies show us. And it kind of makes sense, you know, if you look at it biologically, it does kind of make sense. But I think there's far more that goes into it that is way beyond my pay grade. I am definitely not smart enough to know those things, but I do know that it goes deeper than just body count. There's a whole psychological thing that adds to it. I'm a loyal follower of the Imperium. Slanesh porn would never get me. Dude, I think Slanesh porn would drive most people towards the Emperor, to be honest with you. Van, are you not disgusted about farts? So in other words, your girlfriend can lie next to you and fart. Like, just drop these stinky fucking bombs. And you'd be like, oh my god, you're so cute right now. It's not fine. It's not fine. Coming in first minute, let's talk about porn and fart already. Dude, this is what the streams are, you know? It's just natural. It's just how it goes. No. Look, at the end of the day, I think... Dude, there's so many things wrong with our society now. And I think a large part of why... especially these days, so many men place such a high onus on serenity or purity, right? So why so many guys want that pure girl that you know, if she slept with people, it's like two guys and no more than that. Is our entire world is bonkers. Like So getting married is like one of the stupidest things a guy can do on this planet. Because the marriage contract for a guy is a fucking death trap. For a girl, it's like... It's a future contract. It's investment. Because if you get married and you get divorced, the girl walks away with a fucking paycheck at the end of it. And most likely half of your shit. Right? Whereas if you're a guy and you get married, you're fucked. You are going to get fucked. If your wife wants to leave, well, fuck you. You know, go screw yourself. So I think it's like women are incentivized to get divorces. At least in America. South Africa is a little bit more fair, but not quite. The courts skew towards the woman every single time in South Africa as well. But at least there are ways legally around some of it, but you're still going to lose a lot of your shit in a divorce. So we do have this system now where women are almost incentivized to get a divorce because, you know, if she just feels a little unhappy, she can take her shit and leave and get paid for the rest of her fucking life. Because, you know, that's just how the world works. Whereas a guy, you know, he can get cleaned out if there's a divorce. So I think men are a lot more careful when it comes to marriage. And I think it's building. I think we're in the beginning of this. But I do think if this continues in another 50, 60 years, men are not going to get into marriages. Just because it's too dangerous. It's way too dangerous. And you don't have a fucking chance. Master Joel, I don't agree that women risk their safety. I don't agree with that at all. The vast majority of men do not abuse women. The vast majority of men do not abuse women. So this whole, oh, she's risking her safety. No, she's not. Like, no, she's not. The average woman doesn't risk jack shit when she goes into a marriage. Like, yeah, there is the chance guy that's a fucking psychopath. But this is, again, because when the girl saw all the red flags, she was like, no, I can fix him. Instead of realizing, hey, you really fucking can't. This guy is a psycho. When all of your friends were telling you, this guy is a fucking psycho. And you went, yeah, but he's good in bed. You should have left, right? You should have fucking left. So yeah, 1 in 3 women, no. Those stats, just no. I mean, show me the stats, please. Because if you say 1 in 3 women get abused, right? 1 in 3 women, you would meet so many women that have gone through abuse, that is being currently abused. It would be a fucking nightmare. Women would not want to leave their fucking house. Those stats are wrong. Most of the time, those stats aren't even accurately quoted. So I would want to fucking see it. 1 in 6 is still terrible, and I still think that's too high. I don't think it's anywhere near that. You're never gonna be able to limit abuse or limit bad things happening to 0, right? That's never gonna happen. So we have to decide what number is okay. Like, at what number do we want to be at? And there's a good chance that we're probably already at that number. The problem, most of the time, is that abuse keeps getting fucking inflated with a bunch of other shit. So if you look at Texas laws, for example, Texas, most other countries would file a lot of things as sexual harassment. Texas files it as sexual abuse. Right? So abuse has also become a very big buzzword that now includes a lot more things than what is actually happening on the ground. But I would like to see the stats on that, because I don't know for a fact, but I can almost guarantee you it's not that high. Yeah, maybe 1-2% at most of women in the world, of all the women that I've met in my life and all the women that is in my life, I have not met a single woman that has been abused. And I've met many a woman. I've been friends with many women. I am friends with many women, and I've not met a single fucking woman that's been abused. So, you know, where's this shit happening? If at all, where is this shit happening? Yeah. So if you include sexual harassment, again, this is where things become muddied. But that's just the fucking nature of the media, because the media is fucking bonkers. So, guys can get strung up for sexual harassment just for doing what most girls expect of guys to do. Walk up to her, ask her out, you know, try to get a date with her. Girls can actually fucking go take you to the boss and report you for sexual harassment. Because, you know, you just pursued her a little harder than what she thought was okay, which is the problem, because a lot of the shit is just down to personal preference. It's down to whatever you deem as sexual assault or as sexual harassment. Sexual assault is pretty cut and dry, but as sexual harassment. So it's subjective, which means, well, what exactly is the you know, why don't we have an objective measurement of what is okay and what isn't okay? So yeah, I would argue most of those numbers are very much inflated. And I could be wrong, right? I could be wrong. Maybe it is true. Maybe I'm just lucky insofar as most of the women that I've met have not gone through that. Actually, all of the women I've met have not gone through that. And I've met some women that's been through horrible relationships, that's dated some horrible guys, but none of them has ever been beaten or fucking abused of any kind. So yeah, I don't know. If you say 1% of all women in Texas, they're going for a shock factor looking like 1% of all women, period. Clickbait mechanics, because if you check the actual study, you get the parameters. Okay, some will not say. Ace the base, so some might not say, but in a friendship setting, most will. When it's just friendship, and they know that they're completely safe. I've never had a problem with people talking about very fucking personal shit. I'm a pretty trustworthy guy, I would say. I don't speak out of turn. I keep secrets very well. So I'm a pretty trustworthy guy, and I've heard some fucked up stories, but not stories of abuse. And that my mom has been, and I'm 28, completely oblivious to it. Crime statistics are also very vague, since some places people just don't report it because they know nothing will ever come of it. I mean, see, but we can't fight that. So whenever people come to me and say, oh, but, a lot of people don't report it. Okay, well, then we can do nothing about it. Sorry. I know it sounds heartless, but I can't fight a fucking boogeyman. I can't fight something just because you tell me it's there, right? If they don't report it and we don't know about it, let's not make shit up. So, for example, you'll get these fuckers that go, yeah, 10% of women don't actually report when they've gone through something like this. How do you know? How do you know? If 10% of women will not report it, how the fuck do you know? Did they report it to you? Did they tell you, but they didn't tell anyone else? Then apparently they did report it. I don't understand. How the fuck would you know if they just decided not to do it? No one would know. So that seems like a figure that you just pulled out of your ass and just went, yeah, fuck it. That sounds good. Because I don't know, right? How do you know? If someone doesn't want to tell you, how would you know? Fumblefoot, how you doing, bro? Thanks for the first time chat. Really appreciate that, bro. Found you on YouTube and finally got you online. Great content. Thanks for joining, brother. Really appreciate you here. I just mean that states that seem like high crime can actually be average because the actual crime areas don't have it reported. I would say, so crime statistics are also the problem with crime statistics is usually when they're nationalized, right? So what I mean by nationalized, when crime statistics are taken on the average of on a national scale, they can be extremely misleading. So a good example of this, if you were to Google the crime statistics for Cape Town, you would find that Cape Town is the murder capital of South Africa and among one of the biggest murder capitals in the world. However, if you exclude two gang-run neighborhoods, Cape Town has almost no crime. In fact, the crime in Cape Town is as low as most European countries. So all of the murder and all of the rape and all of the bad shit happens in two neighborhoods. But because those neighborhoods are in Cape Town, they drive up Cape Town's tally. And this would be true even for things like sexual assault, things like sexual harassment. Some people put themselves in positions that is far more likely to result in bad things happening. Not all. There are people that get harassed and assaulted in their own apartments, and that's true. And I'm not blaming the victim, but I am saying if you're outside walking 12 o'clock at night during through a bad neighborhood, you're inviting bad shit to happen to you, right? Like, no one should be walking at 12 o'clock at night, in a dimly lit fucking street, for example, or down an alleyway. because you're just creating opportunities for bad things to happen to you. And then when those bad things do happen, then you start screaming about how there's a fucking problem, but no one ever says, well, don't invite bad things to happen to you. Don't get blind drunk at parties. We had this conversation the other day about that girl who got blind drunk at a party and passed out, and then bad shit happened to her. And I said it then, I say it now. If you get blind drunk and you pass out at a party, especially a party where you don't know anyone, you're effectively creating an opportunity for a bad person to take advantage of said opportunity. And I know people might say, oh, but I can be irresponsible. The world should change for me. The world has never done that for anyone. If you're irresponsible, you're creating an opportunity for bad things to happen to you. That's just how the world fucking works. And at some point, if you create enough of these opportunities, those bad things are indeed going to fucking happen to you. Right? And it doesn't make it your fault. No one's saying that you are to blame for the bad thing happening to you, but you are to blame for creating the opportunity for a bad person to take advantage of it. Right? And this is only in the circumstance where it is actually an opportunity that led to it. It's not the case of a girl just, hanging out with her friends at her house and some guy breaking in and fucking breaking their skulls or some shit. That was not their fault. That was just a bad guy doing a bad thing. Self-responsible is important, but systemic problems are just as important. Yeah, the problem I have with this whole systemic problem is that's a very vague term. How do you fight a systemic problem? Because before I can fight it, it has to be identified. And whenever you say systemic, all right, so what's the answer? Where exactly within the system is this problem? Because the problem has to be somewhere, right? I don't like the word systemic problems because I don't necessarily think it's very accurate. Sorry, my question caused this chaotic argument. Max, I mean, we're not having an argument, are we? I'm the first person to agree. I think the system is sick as fuck, and I would love to see it burned down. I absolutely agree with anyone on that. And Cypherdex, you are correct. Some people do blame the victim. That is true. But we also there's also a massive conflation between asking questions and blaming the victim. So, for example, if someone comes out, right, and I think I should preface this by saying I think the police worldwide is vastly under-equipped to deal with victims of rape and sexual assault. Let me just start off by saying that. You should not have a policeman whose job, by the way, it is to protect people from very violent situations, deal with a victim of sexual assault or rape. You should just not have that. Because that person, I don't care how good the police officer is, his job is to investigate what just happened there. Which, it's fine, but that person right now doesn't require an investigator. That person requires someone that understands the situation that they're in and understands the mindset that they find themselves in. So I do believe that we need a reformation on how we deal with victims of sexual assault and victims of crime, to maybe start off with them talking to an actual professional and let that professional get all the information that the police officer would want. Because just a quick thing, right? This happened a few years ago. The girl was raped. She went to the police, and one of the first questions the police officer asked her was, "Where were you when this happened?" Suddenly, it all blows up because she accuses the police of blaming her. Where were you when this happened? Isn't the police officer blaming you? Yeah, it's probably a little blunt, but the police officer is trying to figure out where the fuck did this crime take place, because perhaps there's video camera evidence, perhaps we can go there, maybe the pup is still hanging out there. The police officer is trying to get all the information, but obviously in the most blunt way possible, because he's just an investigator. He's not there to make you feel better about shit. He's there to catch the perpetrator. things like this just makes it so much harder for us to figure out what's going on. But I do agree with you. There are times where victims are blamed, which I think is just ridiculous. Because if you are a victim of something, you could have done a lot of things wrong. So here's what I would say to that. Let's say that you were out with friends, you're in college, you got drunk, right? And you got drunk, you and your friend, or you decided to walk home. It was late at night. You decided to take a shortcut through an alley. A guy cornered you and had his way with you against your will. So it is the R word, right? It's like, that is straight up rape. We can all agree that what that girl did was stupid as fuck. Why would you first and foremost get drunk at a bar, then walk home, not even take an Uber home, walk home, then in the middle of the night take a path down an alleyway that doesn't have enough light? Bad shit, you're inviting bad shit to happen. But, so while we can agree that that was a wrong thing to do, she shouldn't have done that, that does not make her responsible for getting raped. That's still the fucking rapist, and we should cut his dick off and kill him. That's still him. That's all him. She created an opportunity, and she should have been educated better by either her parents or by, I don't know, some authority figure should have educated her on what is okay and what isn't okay, right? How can you and how can't you? So we can have two ideas here, where the rapist is super fucking bad and fully responsible for the rape that occurred, but the girl was also ill-equipped to deal with an entire situation, and she created a very bad opportunity for bad things to happen to her, which she shouldn't have done if she was actually educated on how not to fucking do that. But I do think this is where parents come in, and I think parents have failed young people, like, just crazy how parents have failed their children. Take her as her friends and family. Marsha Jal, I mean, who's critiquing her? I don't think it's about critique. It's about asking questions, right? People are nosy by design. Like, people are going to be nosy, and they are going to ask questions that might seem like it's victim blaming, and in some cases it might actually be, but in other cases it really is just people that's very, very nosy. That's what we are. We're a curious creature. MI100 released Defender Daily News tabloid when they released video where they interviewed rapist who got out of jail and talked on live on news, how he did it, and how he would do it again. Massive females started protesting, and it took a lot of time to put that person back in jail again, but still media and police are corrupted and they cover each other. Oh, Lemon, yeah, but the media is just the most corrupt fucking group of people you will ever meet. I have no problem believing that. I have no fucking problem believing that. Master Joel, I agree with you there. I think social commentators and psychologists and things should have the right to discuss the entirety of the events that transpired there, so that people can be better educated on what to do and what not to do. But yeah, in a court of law, the girl walking home, what the fuck does that have to do with the guy raping her? Right? So yeah, in a court of law, that shouldn't be important whatsoever. No one cares where the girl was or what she was doing. The fact of the matter is, someone did something to her that was against her will. And I still firmly believe, and I'm not even a fan of the death penalty, but I believe that rapists should get the fucking death penalty. And I know why we don't give it to rapists. I understand why. Because so often, rape is actually one of those crimes that a lot of the time, it comes out that the guy was in fact innocent and he didn't do it. So rape is one of those just horrible crimes that we're almost never certain of something that has happened. But in the event that you are absolutely certain, like you have the guy on video where she says no and he says yes and all that shit, absolutely should just fucking death. Like, just give that guy death. He does not deserve to live. I don't understand why we punish. So this is going to be very controversial. So if you're not in the mood to get pissed off, now would be the time to fucking click off. But Apocalypse, you bastard, 38 months, part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate you, fam. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't understand why we punish death more harshly than rape. Because in my opinion, rape's much worse. Much, much worse. In the event of murder, the person that you wronged is no longer around. Their family and friends can feel it, and that's horrible. But the person that you actually murdered is gone. They're no longer alive. So they don't give a fuck whether you punish the guy or don't punish the guy or whatever happens. They're gone. In the event of rape, that person is still alive. That person will have to live with that shit for the rest of their lives. For the rest of their lives, they will know that this shit had happened to them. To me, that's a much, much worse crime than murder. Tajanor, how you doing, brother? Playing Revenge. Oh, yeah. I don't think... There's no evidence to show that death penalties work either way, right? I just feel like rapists should just get the death penalty. They should not be allowed to be part of society anymore. But in terms of trying to rectify the situation or trying to reduce crime, it doesn't appear as if the death penalty has any effect on that. But, and that is my paranoid brain going at it. What if she set up the scene with role-playing, saying that she will say no, and he should continue, then only tape the no part and later, and then accuses him of rape? Oh, you're reminding me of fucking Bill Burr now, bro. Let me just see. Which Bill Burr was this again? He had a fucking brilliant stand-up on this. I think it's this one, yeah. Yeah, it's almost definitely this one. Let me show you guys this. This is just one of the funniest things ever.
No means no, that's another one. No means no. It's like, no, it doesn't.
Rape is often committed without calculation, but after rape, the criminal often starts to calculate what to do with the victim. If they get mandatory death penalty for the rape alone, there is no reason for the criminals to then also kill the victim after rape.
I don't know about that, 6-6. I don't know. I don't know enough about criminal psychology to answer that, but I'm guessing maybe you're right. I don't know.
All right? Look, no means no. No, that means no. All right, but no, stop it. What are you doing? Oh my God. You're being so bad. Stop it. No. That's not a fucking no. That means I want to do it, but I'm afraid you're going to judge me, so I'm just going to make it look like it was your idea so you don't figure out that I've already performed this act with 40 other fucking people. Right? But then you go to court and you get a bad read and there's some guy reading it. Your Honor, she said no. Stop it. What are you doing? You're being so bad. Yeah, and you're just sitting there like, she didn't fucking say it like that. She didn't say it like that.
Oh shit, bro. This is the funniest shit ever.
Like scared shitless. You know? Because I guess if women ran the world, there'd be no war. Evidently, there'd be no due process either. So you just gotta sit there going,
What is this camera work?
No, it's fucking nuts. People are so scared now. You have the male feminist. Like, where the fuck did that come from?
Dude.
Just out of nowhere, last couple years. I'm a male feminist. I've always championed women. No, you haven't. You haven't. This shit came out and you're fucking scared. You did something. You grabbed some fucking titties. What the fuck did you do that you have to overcorrect that fucking hard? What kind of a man who still has his balls is walking around saying that he's a male feminist? I'm a male feminist. I totally see the way you see the fucking world. It's impossible. as a man who was raised right.
Ah. All right. So yeah, they don't want to be copyright striked. I get it. I get it. No, I just wanted to show you guys the no means no bit. That, by the way, is still one of my favorite things ever. Like one of my favorite skits from a comedy ever. Male feminist on Twitter always get outed. So my issue with the whole, let's say, male feminist thing is, why are those guys always the most like fucked up people in society? Like whenever someone comes out and they're like, "Oh my god, I'm a male feminist," it's not long before you find out that, oh, they did something. Oh my god, they're like the worst people in the fucking world, and yet they're the ones who championed the rights. It's like, no, sorry, no. No one would say that. No normal guy would give a fuck about that shit. If you don't have any skeletons in your closet, why would you care? Like, my stance on it is literally everyone should be equal. I think they're mostly equal anyways, but it's not my job to do jack shit about it. I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck. I don't care enough to go march with you or to change the system or no, fuck that. I want to play video games. I don't give a fuck about anything else. Like, I'll make a video about it at best, and then I'll move on with my life. That's just the end of it. And if you expect more from me, you clearly don't know what the fuck my content is all about. It's just not, I'm not in the mood for that shit. They try to hide by doing it. Predators use camouflage to hide. Oh, yeah. Grumfield, how you doing? I don't understand. I am a male feminist. I just understand 99% of women's rights have been achieved in the West. Marshall, yeah, I agree with you there. What's always interesting to me is that no one ever screams about places like the Middle East, where, you know, or even places in Africa, where women have almost zero fucking rights. It's always the West. The West has to change. The West has to fix itself. And then you look at all these other backwater countries where women can literally be killed and fucking publicly beaten because she, you know, didn't have a headscarf on. And you're like, where's all the feminists now? Like, why is no one making any fucking noise now? It seems like this would be a good time to make some noise. Oh shit, I have something I need to show you guys. I really fucking hope I actually added it to watch later. Like, please, for the love of God, tell me I added it to watch later. Did I not? No. What's the guy called? Fuck, I'm gonna have to go on a fucking search here, chat. Hold up. I'm gonna have to go on a massive search. It's Ryan something, I think. It's this guy. Ryan Long. Yeah. I want to show you this if I can find that video. Probably one of the... This guy is fucking nuts, dude. He went into New York, right? This was the funniest shit ever. He went into New York City, and he's like, "So, I'm fundraising for Tucker Carlson. Would you be willing to give $5 for Tucker Carlson?" And this one lady's like, "No, I absolutely fucking will not. He's a traitor." And this Ryan Long's like, "I'm not a traitor. I've always worked for Tucker Carlson." And you can see this lady just getting more and more pissed off with him as he just asks these fucking weird questions. Like, he's just asking, because the lady says, "No, I will not give him $5. And, "Oh, so you already donated to Tucker?" Like, shit like that, dude. It is fucking nuts how funny this guy is. Let me just see if I can find the video. Oh my god, he has so many videos though. I'm not sure if we're gonna find the right one. It's something about feminism or equality. Ryan Long, let's say Ryan Long equality for all. Oh, fuck no. I was there. It's literally right there. Is it this one? Let's see. Yeah, here's the one. Look at this, boys. Just take a look at this.
A lot of men say that they're out here fighting for equality.
But we've made the decision to fight for total equality in every way.
Hey babe, just checking in, seeing how that deck's coming? Well, it's great that women occupy 65% of PR jobs. We still live in a world where only 14% of Alaska crab fishermen are women.
And 10% of roadkill removal specialists. Women are perfectly capable of things other than marketing, and they have every right to be down there mining coal with the boys.
50% of coal miners should be women minimum.
It starts at home, whether it's mowing the lawn or building furniture.
We've both been doing our part.
She actually put me on an allowance, which is pretty sweet.
I've never paid for a meal ever. You want to play Call of Duty tomorrow?
My schedule's wide open. We can do whatever.
Some fake male feminists like to celebrate the fact that women occupy the majority of life coaching positions, while there's still only 3% of brick masons.
Still a lot of work to be done.
I encourage any man who cares to enroll his wife in a brick mason apprenticeship. Don't let her quit her
Jesus, dude. Just enroll her. Like, don't give her a fucking option. Just enroll her.
brick mason apprenticeship. Don't let her quit her other job though. She can do it on the weekends. I promise you she can handle it. She's stronger than you think. I think you're gonna probably have to pay that one. You know I quit my job. Babe, I support you in both of your careers.
Some people think it's weird that I stay at home with the dogs while she's working at a steel mill because they're afraid of a work.
Babe, I support you in both of your careers. Right, if you go hardcore equality. Yeah, the problem is just that no one wants real total equality. What everyone wants is equality only in the places it's good. So, for example, you'll often hear people say, oh yeah, you know, only 1% or some shit like that of women are CEOs. Like, the vast majority are male. And it's like, well, okay, so 99% of all plumbers are male. Are we going to go for 50% there, 50-50? And then suddenly they don't give a shit, right? Those are not the positions they're interested in. It's only the positions that, like, is considered to be cool and the positions that make a lot of money. Those are the only positions that we care about that's 50-50. All of the other positions that is majority male dominated because men are more likely to do disgusting fucking horrible jobs, those no one gives a shit about. Like, no one cries that almost all of the street cleaners in the world are male. No one gives a shit about this. So why? If we're truly after equality, then we should be after equality for all of it, no?
Working woman.
Newsflash, women are going to be in the workplace.
Especially this woman, because I've racked up quite a bit of debt. And don't get me started on the fact that 89% of cell phone tower climbers are men.
We offer subsidies for women in entertainment, but when it comes to climbing a cell phone tower, suddenly they're on their own.
Here's a list of grants for female filmmakers. Now here's a list of grants for female oil rig workers.
Women can and should be rig pigs, especially the butch ones. But hey, maybe that's just me who cares. Only 24% of morticians are women, but I guess I'm the crazy one for thinking women are perfectly capable of morticianing.
And a mere 3% of plumbers? That's what happens when our children see Mario and Luigi instead of Marjorie and Louise.
My ex-girlfriend was discouraged from plumbing, and because of that, she had to rely on me to pay for meals at restaurants. I stand for that no longer. Could do brunch first.
No, let's do brunch on Tuesday. Spread it out a bit. I want the patriarchy dead, and me dead asleep, while my partner is shoveling snow in the middle of December.
My wife's texting me. She says we need to talk.
Yeah, she probably wants to talk about the fact that 90% of whale snot collectors are still men.
Or 94% of porta potty cleaners.
What message does this send to our daughters?
I've never killed a bug ever. That's something that your girlfriend is perfectly capable of, despite what propaganda will tell you.
It only comes bi-weekly, so sometimes I gotta get her to top it up. Are you willing to step up, or are you too entrenched in gender norms?
Total equality in every way.
Yep.
Opening a door.
Dude, that's just wild. Most plumbers I know make more than the C-suit. Those fuckers charge call-out fees for everything, no matter if there's an issue or not. I mean, seriously, all plumbing calls are call-outs. Don't you dare give plumbers a free ride, thieving fucks.
When me and Brad first met,
Well,
I didn't think we'd get along, but turns out we
Oh, yeah. I saw this, actually. I saw this before. Look at this. This is actually a little eye-opening.
kind of agree on everything. Your racial identity is the most important thing. Everything should be looked at through the lens of race.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke. We both have a lot of opinions about people of color, even though we barely know any.
I say colored people, but as long as we're classifying them, we both think minorities are a united group who think the same and act the same.
And vote the same. You don't want to lose your black card. Sorry, I don't know. I just think we should
Roll back discrimination laws so we can hire based on race again. Jinx, now you owe me a Coke. Hey, tell them what you told me yesterday.
White actors should only do voices for white cartoon characters.
I've been saying that for years. Stick to your own.
Us white people, we have so much privilege.
I agree. It is a privilege to be white. Ask him about interracial dating.
All I said is that black men who date white women have internalized racism, and white men that date ethnic women are fetishizing them.
Guys against interracial dating now. Like, am I being pranked? Did Boomer put you up to this?
Ugh, you know that taco place is white owned?
White people should be making white foods like Kraft macaroni and cheese, no seasoning, not even salt. It's like he's a mind reader. I mean, I've been pushing for segregation forever, and my man does what?
I created an improv comedy show exclusively for ethnic people.
Guy segregates comedy on my birthday.
White people need to stop wearing dreadlocks, and they need to stop appropriating black people's music.
Shaved heads and country music, the way God intended.
You know all white people are racist.
I'm listening.
Even if you have a black wife.
Shaved head and country music. What the fuck? Oh my god, bro.
For a black friend group, you're still really racist.
You know, we just kicked a guy out of the organization for having a black girlfriend, but if you can promise me he's still really racist, we'll consider letting him back in. Black people should only shop at black businesses.
I guess the only thing we really disagree about is I think white people are the root of all evil.
But what did I tell you, though? If we can narrow that down to a certain group of tiny-hatted white people, I think we can come to an understanding.
Technically, I don't consider Jewish people white.
Neither do I.
Yep. I mean, it does make you think, right? Because technically speaking, they do have a shit ton in common. You know, I've said this before. All of these, you know, segregated spaces on campuses where, you know, they call them safe spaces, but you won't find a single racist person in the world that disagrees with that. Like, if you went up to, like, the harshest and most hardcore KKK fuck, right? And you were like, hey, we're thinking about segregating whites and blacks on campus because black people require their safe space. That KKK guy would throw a fucking party, bro. You're like, hell yeah. Like, this is all we wanted. Like, can we do that on a national scale? Like, let's really fucking go at it, you know? It's weird. Like, I've looked at a lot of this shit, and whenever I hear people speak and all of the woke people speak, I can't help but listen to it from the perspective of a South African. Because as a South African, it's not that long ago that my country had most of those fucking laws. Like, most of those laws.
Welcome to the rice fields, motherfucker.
Oh yeah. How you doing, bro? Several women who wanted to be truckers or house builders, but they couldn't get work because they might get pregnant and had to go on maternity leave. I think that does happen, you know, and there are positions of power, there are jobs where that can be a major issue. You know, and it is sad, but it is just the nature of the game. I do think it will change in time, but I will tell you, if you say you've known plenty of women, I will challenge the word plenty in your sentence. I don't think you've known plenty. I think you've known some. Like, I've known some women that wanted to become mechanics or wanted to become plumbers, but it is some. The vast majority of women I know do not want to be those things. They've never wanted to be those things. What do you mean natural birth should be outlawed? Like, I don't have any opinions on that. CCS, how you doing, bro? What the fuck is a natural birth? Like, what's wrong with natural birth? Chance of death is ridiculous. Jesus. I think it's probably higher than, though, lower than that even. Is it? The shadows all over the place. Oh, welcome to the fucking stream, Sifendex. This is how it goes. This is how it goes. Well, it's not woke, it's transphobic. Is it? Why? Why would that be transphobic? I don't follow. What did I want to... Oh, yeah. I wanted to... There's a video I wanted to watch. Yep. All right.
This
Boys, we're going a bit, like... So, we're going conspiracy diving here today. I apologize for everyone that don't like conspiracy theories, but that's not my problem. You should like conspiracy theories. and if you don't, you should probably fix yourself. I've been on a bit of a conspiracy theory drive. So on Netflix, there's a new documentary that's just launched that's called Ancient Apocalypse. If you haven't watched it yet, you should absolutely watch it. That's just wild, right? Because basically Graham Hancock in that documentary shows a decent chance that there's been very advanced civilizations that's lived thousands of years before we even thought that there were humans. So it's very good. It is very good and compelling as fuck. But let's watch this. So the guy from the Y-Files, my brothers are big in this guy. And apparently he does a very good job of trying to debunk things. Like he really does his research on things. Tesla knew the secret of the Great Pyramid. Let's watch.
Nikola Tesla believed that he could harness the energy from inside the Earth and transmit that power wirelessly around the world. His early experiments were successful, but his research mysteriously vanished after his death. There is no evidence left of Tesla's wireless power technology. Or is there? For years, we were taught that the Great Pyramid of Giza was a tomb for a king. It wasn't. It had a different purpose. Tesla didn't invent wireless power. It's been here for 5,000 years, and probably a lot longer than that.
This shit, dude, this shit's wild.
Okay, why were the pyramids built?
Storage for dead mummies?
Dead mummies?
It's a tautology.
Mainstream Egyptology says that the Great Pyramid of Giza is a tomb built for Khufu, the 4th dynasty Egyptian pharaoh who ruled 4,500 years ago. But the Great Pyramid doesn't have any characteristics of other Egyptian tombs. The Great Pyramid contains no artifacts, no hieroglyphs, and no elaborate wall art. It's been argued that the granite sarcophagus found in the king's chamber once contained Khufu's mummy. There's no evidence that a mummy was ever there. No mummy has ever been found in any pyramid, ever. Ancient Egyptians considered their pharaohs gods. The Great Pyramid is a strange structure for a god. Small chambers, narrow shafts, no markings at all. The way the pyramid was built and the materials used to build it suggest it had a different purpose. The sides of the pyramid are aligned with the compass with such accuracy that only modern engineering can match it. The Great Pyramid is a mountain made of 2.5...
Just to be clear, right? So just to tell you guys how precise this is, the Great Pyramids face true north to a T. Like literally, it's not a degree off. It is absolutely true north. They tried to do that in the, when was the White House built? I think 1700s or some shit, when the White House was built. They tried to do that, and it did not fucking work. They're actually off by quite a number of degrees on the White House. There's a specific arch that they tried to build in the White House that was supposed to face true north, and it's off by quite a few degrees to true north. And the pyramids, which was built a lot longer ago, they fucking nailed it. Not once, but multiple times. They managed to nail it completely, and then also align it with stars in the heaven. So not only do they face true north, they also align with star systems in the heavens, which... So here's where the problem comes in. Whenever people speak about, oh yeah, but it could just have been this, it could just have been that. There's a number of things that people don't always look at. The first question is, why would they do this? Okay, that's number one question. Why? Why does any hunter-gathering society, a society that isn't that advanced yet, why would they try to build pyramids, like massive fucking structures? For what purpose? For what reason? And then secondly, we usually expect to see trial runs with things like this. So as a culture gets more and more advanced, you'll be able to trace the periods of advancement. So in human society, for example, we can track, when we still lived in mud huts and then we finally figured out how to make bricks, and then eventually we refined the brick making process, and then we figured out how to make steel bars, which allowed us to build much higher. And then, as time goes on, we learn, we can trace this, and we can see how we got better, how we refined our arts. But then when you look at things like the pyramids, and not necessarily the pyramids in Egypt, but if you watch the Ancient Apocalypse, there are pyramids in Malta, there are pyramids in Mexico, where these pyramids stand, but there's nothing. There's no evidence, like a trail of evidence that shows you this is what they started with, and this is how they got to there. It's just sort of like, they started their hunter-gatherers, and then bam, pyramids. And you don't see that with anyone else. Like, no other culture has this. Cultures, you can track the trail of development as they build to these big things. So, for example, let's go 100,000 years into the future, or even 100 million years into the future. And let's imagine that they discover skyscrapers, right? That is left here on Earth. So let's imagine humanity goes to Mars, the Earth gets fucked, there's no humans on Earth, and then 100 million years from now, the people from Mars come back and they find these skyscrapers. They will be able to look at some of the other buildings we've built and how we've built them, and they'll be able to see, oh, so that's how they eventually got to the skyscraper thing. Okay, so we can keep track of how they got there, and this is how they got there, this is how they refined their craft. But a lot of these pyramids, we see none of that. It's just, they go from mud huts to giant pyramids. There's no refinement of the actual architecture that goes into this. They're obviously built by the first ones of our world. There is also massive pyramids in Bosnia, apparently discovered like 10 years ago or something like that. Yeah, we're discovering a lot of these nowadays.
500,000 blocks of stone weighing 6 million tons, piled 481 feet high. Its footprint is over 13 acres. To align this construction within 1/15th of a degree of true north is impossible precision. The base of the Great Pyramid is leveled to within 3/4 of an inch. The only way to do this with modern structures is to use lasers. Even though the sides of the pyramid are over 755 feet long, made of stone blocks weighing between 2 and 40 tons each side is within 2 inches of any other. That's 99.98% accurate. Fun fact, the pyramid doesn't have 4 sides. It actually has 8. Each side is slightly concave that you can only really see from directly above, or when the pyramid casts shadows during the equinoxes. And yes, those angles too are perfect. Whoever built the pyramids somehow knew the size of the Earth. If you take the height of the pyramid and multiply it by 43,200, you get 3,938.685 miles, which is within 11 miles of the polar radius of the planet. That's 99.7% accurate. If you take the perimeter of the base of the pyramid and multiply that by 43,200, you get 24,734.94 miles. That's the Earth's circumference at the equator within 99.3% accuracy. We know that the ancients were obsessed with equinoxes, when the day and the night are the same lengths. The length of the day and night on an equinox is 43,200 seconds. Now, skeptics will say this relationship between 43,200 and the size of the Earth is forced. They say, well, the planet is different sizes in different places, so this is just a coincidence.
No, is this one of those episodes where we make the skeptics look like idiots?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, good. I love those.
Don't gloat.
Oh, and the skeptics.
Seven Docs, it's not that they multiplied by those specifics. When they found the sizes, they obviously said, wait a second, why these specific sizes? And then you take the circumference of the Earth and the circumference of like the distances, and you go, right. So what happens if we divide this into the size? And if that works, like if that fits, that's pretty strange, right? Because you have to ask yourself, how did they do that? And why so specifically? Why is it exactly as tall as it is large? Like, as it is wide? Why? Right? Because there are better ways to do this. They didn't have to go that high. There's a lot of things that goes into it where people do ask why, right? And this is just one of those things where mathematicians sort of, ask why. What would be the reason for this?
Most of the Great Pyramid is constructed of nummulite limestone, the reddish-brown blocks that we see today. This rock is found close to the site and is abundant. But the builders of the pyramid also used unusual materials not found locally. The exterior of the pyramid was once covered in casing stones made of bright white limestone. They were polished smooth and fit together so tightly that no seams were visible. These casing stones were cut and shipped from a quarry in Tura, almost 500 miles away. That's like carrying thousands of 10-ton stone blocks the length of the entire state of Florida. They must have been special. Unlike the limestone cut locally, Tura limestone lacks magnesium. This makes it an excellent insulator. Limestone can carry an electrical current. Tura limestone can't. Interior chambers were built with a rare type of granite called rose granite, also brought from hundreds of miles away. This granite has a high concentration of silicon dioxide, also known as quartz. When quartz is compressed or even just moved, it creates a charge called piezoelectricity. One face of the quartz will have a positive charge, the other will have a negative charge. Connect the two faces together and you have an electrical circuit. Because of this property, quartz is used in all kinds of modern devices like watches, clocks, TVs, GPS units, and on and on. To charge a watch that uses quartz, all you have to do is shake it. And if you've ever used a barbecue lighter, the voltage is created by a quartz crystal. The king and queen's chambers were built with granite that is 85% quartz. The tunnels and passageways are also lined with quartz-rich granite. If pressure was applied to all this granite, it would generate a tremendous amount of electricity, turning the pyramid into a giant power plant. And there's proof that this is exactly what happened.
So this is actually a theory that I've heard a long time ago, where people have said if you look inside the pyramids, if you look at what materials they used and how it was built, it's the only viable explanation for what they could have done there. Because if you wanted to build a Tesla-like power station, that's how you would build it. Like, at least if you wanted to do it big enough so that you could provide enough electricity, this is how you would build it. Pyramids, if you have electronics or a pacemaker. So what are they going to do? Shake the pyramid for electricity? Miko, you hear. My brother told me a little bit of this episode. That's why I wanted to watch it. Charging for spaceships. Let's go. Oh, yeah.
The idea that the Great Pyramid was a power plant is not new. It was first proposed in the 1970s. It was and is considered a fringe theory.
Ooh, those are my favorite kind of theories.
I know.
The fringier the better. Fringier? Fringia. No, that doesn't sound right. What's your problem?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is the show interrupting your train of thought?
Sarcasm, nice.
Well, what do you expect? I'm trying to set up the show here, and it's not easy to do when you're jumping in with comments. As more and more discoveries were made over the years, more evidence emerged that the Great Pyramid as a power plant wasn't fringe science, but actual science. One of the most compelling cases comes from Christopher Dunn. He believes the process starts in the subterranean chamber. Below the pyramid are aquifers. As water moves through the underground cavities, sound waves are created. The frequency of these waves resonate with the Earth's natural vibration. As those waves move up through the pyramid, a process is used to magnify, focus, and convert the sound into energy. The Queen's Chamber was used for a chemical reaction that created hydrogen, and there's substantial proof of this. There are two interior shafts that lead to the Queen's Chamber. The northern shaft has traces of hydrochloric acid. The southern has traces of hydrated zinc chloride. Combining these two chemicals creates a volatile reaction that generates hydrogen, a lot of hydrogen. This hydrogen gas would flow from the Queen's Chamber through the horizontal passage and into the Grand Gallery. The Grand Gallery is also made of granite. As the hydrogen gas builds up, the pressure compresses the granite, creating electricity. This electricity also ionizes the air, increasing conductivity. Within the Grand Gallery were 27 or 28 pairs of resonators that would vibrate and emit sound. The hydrogen atoms would organize themselves into waves in sympathy with the sound waves of the gallery. These sound waves further excite the stone, creating even more electricity.
Oh, so let me get this straight. You stick the shafts into the Queen's Chamber, which gets the stones excited?
That's right, but somehow when you say it, it sounds dirty.
I'm a naughty, naughty fish.
Acoustic engineers have determined the gallery resonates at 440 hertz and naturally emits an F-sharp chord. 440 hertz and the F-sharp chord have been connected to a lot of woo-woo ideas, but there's a reason for that. It's considered a sound that resonates in harmony with the Earth. The builders of the pyramid knew this. Longtime Mac users will recognize this sacred chord. At the top of the gallery is a small shaft leading to the king's chamber. The opening is 8.4 by 4.8 inches. This is the perfect size for hydrogen microwaves to pass into the king's chamber, which also resonates at 440 hertz and F-sharp. Above the king's chamber are 5 layers of granite beams, stacked and separated by air gaps. This is called the relieving chamber because
My issue with, okay, so Van Honkerton, for example, you en masse reject the idea. My question usually for people who reject shit like this is why? Why would you reject it? That no one else has any compelling theories. I mean, the theory for modern science is, oh, it was a burial site, even though we found no bones, no mummies, no nothing. So clearly it wasn't that, unless, of course, the mummies got up and fucked off because they didn't like their home. The other option is that they just built it for fun, which, again, doesn't necessarily line up. Why would anyone build something like this just for fun? You know, it's strange to me how people dismiss things simply because mainstream says no, this is not possible. Even though, so if you watch the Ancient Apocalypse series, they found an ancient cave in Malta. Now, mainstream science says that the first humanoids arrived in Malta around 5,000 years ago. That's when the first humanoids arrived in Malta. They reject the idea that there's ever been humans in Malta before this time. Malta was frozen over, you know, it was during the Ice Age, most of it was underwater, and there were definitely no humans there during the Ice Age. This would just not have happened. And then they find teeth from Neanderthals in a layer of the dirt that was formed during the Ice Age. And mainstream science just rejects it. Just says, no, that doesn't prove anything. Like, legit. The guy actually spoke to the president of the Historical Society of Malta, and he said, so in 1980, they had scientists basically examine the teeth, and then they never released the report on what the teeth were. Never. They refused to release the reports. And then he had the teeth himself evaluated, and the evaluations came back, yeah, it's Neanderthal. So in other words, mainstream science simply rejected an idea because it did not align with all of their own thoughts. I think the biggest mistake people can make in this world is believe mainstream science. Whenever people have a financial incentive to be right, they will suppress whatever information disproves their own theory because it will blow up their own theories. So yeah, I don't trust mainstream science for jack shit, especially when it comes to things like this. Because if you want to prove that this is not that, right, don't just label it a conspiracy theory. Go do the fucking research yourself. Go falsify the data. If someone's saying that this was a giant electricity chamber, go disprove it. You know, you should have the ability to show that this could not have generated electricity, not in a million years. It's just not possible. But they don't. They just label people that believe this as conspiracy theorists. And this makes most normal people not want to believe it because no one wants to be a conspiracy theorist. Even though so many conspiracy theorists are being proven correct every single fucking day. Even the CIA and the Pentagon now admit that there is most likely aliens and that the Earth has been visited by things that they cannot explain. Even the fucking CIA and the Pentagon now admit that. Just 20 years ago, most people who believed in aliens were told, conspiracy theory fucking kook. So I would argue You're far more likely to be correct if you believe the conspiracy theories than you are to just dismiss it.
Because it was believed that this interior structure relieved the weight of the pyramid. That's not what it does. The beams are smooth on 3 sides, but rough cut on the top. Christopher Dunn believes the reason for the rough cut is this is how the beams were tuned. The builders could vibrate the granite beams and slowly chip away at the stone until they resonated with an F-sharp chord, which they do. The King's Chamber is what's known as a Helmholtz resonator. When you blow air across the top of a bottle and create sound.
No, but wait, you don't... Okay, so you guys are making a bunch of claims here that literally can be shot down so fucking easily. You're saying, oh, these are outlandish claims that can't be falsified. There's specific fucking claims. You have 2 chambers that produce 2 different gases. When you combine these gases, they create helium. All right, go fucking taste that. That's a very specific claim. How did that happen? Prove how that happened naturally, and it wasn't because they built it that way. This is just what happened. They made a claim that the quartz is actually vibrating with the vibrations of the earth due to the water that runs below the pyramid. Well, go taste that. That's, again, a very specific claim. It's not outlandish. It's a specific claim. So go show how that is impossible. Build a tiny model of a pyramid to the exact parameters of the giant pyramids with water running through it at the exact rate and see what happens to it. And if it doesn't actually do the things that it's doing, then you can say, right, we've tried to play by your rules. All of the information comes out as no. Never mind. You guys are wrong. But that's not what happens. More often than not, it literally just gets dismissed as conspiracy theories. And most people dismiss conspiracy theories, even though the majority of the fucking time, conspiracy theories turn out to be true. Now, you do get your more kooky fucking conspiracy theories, like lizard people, where there I would agree with you. There are conspiracy theories that are just so outlandish that it would be nigh impossible to prove, even if you wanted to. I agree with you. There are. The problem is that due to the outlandish ones, we now blanket statement all of them, even the ones that aren't necessarily as outlandish. 100 times more advanced than us with 1,000 less technology. Well, we're apes now. Giant rat guy, that's not necessarily true. You see, Van Archten, this is where you and I wholly disagree. I don't reject anything. And proven to me means nothing anymore. It literally means fuck all to me. When people say, oh my God, it's proven. By who? Like, who proved this? And who did the research? And what exactly did they want to achieve through this research?
That's a Helmholtz resonator. Change the volume of liquid in the bottle, or change the volume of stone within the chamber, you change the pitch. The entire complex is a giant musical instrument. Now, some skeptics reluctantly agree that the Great Pyramid has musical properties, but for skeptics to consider the pyramid as a power plant, they would need evidence to show that a giant stone pyramid would respond to electromagnetic energy. There was no evidence of that until 2018.
Okay.
Whether true or not, it's scientifically possible that the Great Pyramid was a structure for creating, harnessing, and focusing energy. The exterior was made of material that insulates electricity. The interior was made of material that conducts electricity. The chambers were made of material that creates electricity. The next piece of evidence is the pyramid's ability to focus EM energy. In 2018, scientists used radio waves at different frequencies to see if the Great Pyramid would interact with electromagnetic waves of a resonant length. Their experiments proved that in a resonant state, the pyramid can concentrate electromagnetic energy in the internal chambers as well as under its base. Resonance in the pyramid can be induced by radio waves with the lengths ranging from 200 to 600 meters. The closer to 200 meters, the more dramatic the effect. A year after that, in 2019, Eric Wilson published a paper called A Large-Scale Thermal Acoustic Generator. The paper describes how, when granite and other rocks are vibrated, electrons will migrate through the rock and up to the surface. By combining science and music, the builders of the pyramid created a power-generating machine tuned to the natural harmonic of the Earth's vibration that primarily comes from the tidal energy created by the moon's gravity. This technology, created thousands of years ago, could generate unlimited clean energy. But how did they get the energy out? That brings us back to Tesla. His Wardenclyffe Tower was built on top of an aquifer, with copper and iron rods extending down into the water. When electricity was sent into the tower, it was to be transmitted around the world through the atmosphere. The pyramid is also built on an aquifer, and copper pipes and iron rods have recently been discovered there. If the capstone was made of gold, the energy concentrated inside the pyramid would have been drawn to the top and transmitted to the atmosphere. Tesla's wireless power distribution system used the resonance of the Earth, just like the pyramid. And just like the pyramid, the energy generated by Tesla's tower would be unlimited, clean, and virtually free for everyone on the planet. But Tesla's tower was destroyed by outside forces. There's evidence that the Great Pyramid was destroyed from within. In the year 1900,
You can't tell me it's not even a little compelling.
Nikola Tesla convinced JP Morgan to fund a project to create a wireless communication system. When Tesla received the funding, he decided...
Finding proof in this video, they also have a financial incentive for their video doing well now? Yeah, of course. But I have a much higher degree of contempt for the mainstream scientists than I have for the people on the fringes. Because here's my reading on things, and this is my own logic. Not everyone has to adhere to it. If you're a scientist that find evidence, like they did when they put vibrations through the pyramid, it does fucking generate electricity. They do find that it actually reverberates and it actually does react to the vibrations that's sent through the pyramid. So they publish those papers knowing full well that it is most likely going to lead to them losing a lot of standing within the scientific community because they're going against the grain. So I have a lot more incentive to believe them because they put their own, shall we say, reputations on the line. Whereas these fucking mainstream scientists, the one that goes like Neil deGrasse Tyson and those guys that go on TV, I don't trust a fucking word they say. Because I can't. The fact of the matter is, these guys will tout whatever the fucking bullshit narrative is, as long as it gets them, you know, more shows, as long as it leads to more book deals. I don't trust anything they say. Because at the end of the day, when it comes from a person of authority, I immediately reject it. Like, that's just always been my thing. I reject authority whenever I see it, because authority is just another word for bullshit. Scientists that deny new information that contradicts their ideology are contemptible. The problem is it happens so fucking often. There's a Tesla for why you shouldn't trust the scientific community. Is my invention good? He's bad. Let me show you by electrocuting elephants. Yeah, pretty fucking true. The ideas in the video, sure. I think it's important to be able to entertain and steelman these fringe ideas with an open mind, as long as you don't act like they're true in practice until sufficiently proven. Yes, but who proves them? Because we already know that there are, within science at least, a very large movement of people that will reject any idea that goes against what they believe, regardless of what the evidence may or may not present, right? He's gonna build a pyramid to counter his electrical woes. Dude, so the Tesla thing I've heard before, and if true, you'll figure out soon why Tesla's work had to be shut down.
To scale up the project, rather than transmit messages around the world, he would transmit power. Tesla had already demonstrated that wireless power would work on a small scale. He famously had light bulbs scattered on the ground that would illuminate when a Tesla coil was activated nearby. Now he wanted to go bigger. He explained this world-changing technology to JP Morgan and asked him for more money to complete the project. Rather than support Tesla, Morgan pulled his funding, claiming breach of contract. JP Morgan owned General Electric, which would be made obsolete. He owned AT&T, which would also become obsolete. JP Morgan owned copper mines all over the world. and his factories generated miles of copper wire.
So, Caleb, it depends, right? So the idea, at least behind Tesla's tower, is that you would shoot electricity into the stratosphere of the Earth, which would then obviously be all around us. For humans, it would probably not be all that dangerous. And the reason it wouldn't be that dangerous for us is because we are not good. Like, the electricity would probably not seek us out just because we're not good conductors of electricity. And so the electricity would literally go into things that is conducting it better. That's at least the theory around it. Now, how that would work in practice, and perhaps that's why the people that built the pyramids is dead now. They activated the pyramids and then suddenly got shot to fuck, burned to a crisp. You never know, right? Like, as soon as they activated the pyramids, all that electricity goes into the stratosphere, and the next minute everyone's burning. That's possible, right? It's just, it is kind of the theory, at least, suggests that if you put electricity into the stratosphere, the world would have unlimited electricity and it would be absolutely free. Everyone would just have as much electricity as it wants.
JP Morgan owned rubber farms and factories that created insulation for wire. He owned steel companies and factories that built power generators. He owned timber mills that created telegraph and electricity poles. He owned coal mines that fueled existing power plants. And he owned 24 railroads that transported all these resources around the country. None of this would be necessary if Tesla created free, unlimited wireless power. For several years, Tesla wrote JP Morgan almost every month, begging him to reconsider. He wouldn't. Instead, JP Morgan chose to finance Tesla's competitors, Edison and Marconi, who were improving on and getting rich from Tesla's inventions. And not only did JP Morgan refuse any further investment, but he also put out word to everyone in the wealthy investor class that Tesla should be avoided. He was essentially blacklisted. By 1915, Tesla had accumulated so much debt that the bank foreclosed on the Wardenclyffe property. The tower was
It depends what you mean with natural science, Heatwave. There are definitely sciences that is better, but then there's also sciences that are, like, scientists that is just not to be trusted. Regardless. So here's the thing. Not all scientists are good. And we have seen throughout the history of our world what capital can do to any field. No field is free of corruption. No field is free from the giant corporations that try to benefit from it. Right? This is just fact. We all know that it happens. The problem is, we know that it happens in some places, and then we suspend our disbelief in others. So we will go, yeah, the politicians are all in the bag of, the big corporations, but not the scientists. Like, there's nothing wrong with them. I'll give you guys an example, right? Pfizer came out with their vaccines, right? It was a rush job. Everyone fucking took it. At least most people took it. You have Ireland now opening investigations against Pfizer and Moderna. You have the European Parliament opening investigations against Pfizer and Moderna. You now have countries around the world starting to ask questions about these vaccines. We're starting to find out that the vaccines cause heart problems within people. We're starting to see major deaths throughout the world, and it seems like those deaths are very much related to people that took the vaccine. And the questions are being asked, were these things safe in the first place? Because Pfizer and Moderna told us they're absolutely safe. And a lot of the parliaments around the world are now starting to ask, wait, it doesn't look like they were absolutely safe. They were mostly safe. Like, don't believe anyone that tells you, oh, they're just the end of the world. That's bullshit. They're mostly safe, but there are drawbacks to them. There were people that died from them. I know personally of 2 people that died shortly after taking the vaccines. My father knows about 3, 2 of his own patients that died shortly after taking the vaccines. So there's definitely, let's just say there's more to it than what we were originally told. Okay. And there are still scientists now that suppress the information around these vaccines, that suppress the information around, the COVID leaks and where where COVID actually came from. You know, you now have the CDC and even the World Health Organization mainly agreeing that that COVID probably came from a lab, because it does appear as if it does have enough lab qualities to prove that. And yet you still have scientists putting out scientific papers saying, no, didn't come from a lab. There's no evidence. This is completely natural. At the end of the day, corporate money will infiltrate everything. If there is money to be made, you can bet your ass that the corporations are part of it. And they are getting their own scientists to make claims and to prove claims to work to their benefit. The fucking cigarette industry did this. For years, the cigarette industry funded scientists that proved that smoking doesn't cause lung cancer, smoking doesn't cause emphysema, smoking has zero health detriments. In fact, there were scientific studies showing how healthy it is to smoke cigarettes. And these were scientists, like actual scientists, that did the studies and made sure that the studies showed what their benefactors wanted them to show. And we have no problem believing that the cigarette industry is a fucking evil, evil industry. But then when it comes to other industries, we just reject it. On the whole of it, we go, no, this science we can trust. And I'm sort of the guy going, I don't trust anything that these people say. Follow the money is what I usually do. I don't necessarily believe everything in this video, just to be clear. I am steel manning a lot of the things in this video because I find it entertaining, but I don't believe everything in this video because, again, I don't know. I don't know what the truth is. I'm open to the truth at all times. I don't really come to conclusions because I don't think I'm intelligent enough to do so. I believe and disbelieve everything at the same time, I guess we could say.
Demolished in 1917 and sold for scrap.
Say,
The
how you doing,
project
brother?
was never completed. Tesla was a genius, but he was at a disadvantage. Men like Edison and Marconi knew how to bring Tesla's inventions to market. They knew how to make technology accessible. And most of all, they knew how to play the game. You don't bite the hand that feeds you. That's why 84% of the world's energy is created from fossil fuels. It's also why Tesla died alone and broke. It's possible that the Great Pyramid suffered some catastrophic event that caused it to stop working. In addition to hydrochloric acid, there are traces of sulfuric acid in the southern shaft. In the northern shaft, there's zinc chloride and ammonium chloride. These chemicals can create hydrogen without being mixed, but if you do combine ammonium chloride with...
Massey, why is it more important to be hesitant of believing far-fetched ideas than it is to be hesitant of believing all ideas, whether it be far-fetched or not? Because I would argue one should entertain all theories, whether it be far-fetched or not, with equal skepticism. Because, again, it comes down to, at least for me, it boils down to, where's the money? Like, I'm having a very hard time these days, and I don't know if I'm the only one. Maybe it is just me. Maybe the majority of people go through life just happily believing everything they read on their screens. But I have reached a point in my life where it's becoming harder and harder for me to know what is actually true, because I don't think we know anything anymore. Like, my genuine belief is that nothing we know is actually true. I think everything we know because they were the rich and powerful agreed that it was okay for us to know this in the way that they wanted us to know it. That's where I am now. Whenever I see something, whenever I read something, whenever anything happens, my first thought is most likely bullshit. This is most likely not the full truth. There's a good chance that this is like half the truth, or the truth is spun to fuck to fit some kind of narrative, because I see it often enough. You're getting Illuminati now? Well, this is just where I am now. near impossible thing to deal with. She said, what do you mean? No, people are losing faith in institutions. Yeah, but that's because the institutions are no longer trustworthy. Because the institutions themselves are just bonkers. Argument against this is that I don't think it's reasonable to believe that hundreds of universities and other scientific institutions can be silenced and bought in a world with internet. The rich and powerful aren't a homogenous group either. They don't have to be homogenous. The rich and the powerful all hang out in the same places. They all went to the same universities. They all have the same friends. So there's a very good chance that they all think exactly the same. It's no wonder that the only billionaire in our world that seems to be going against the grain is also the one guy that didn't go to the same universities as the rest of them. Right? They all believe the same things, say the same things, speak the same things, warn about the same things. And universities are perhaps the least trustworthy, in my opinion. Because universities, especially the US universities, have become businesses. They're no longer places of learning, they're places of money. And whenever you care about money, there is almost always going to be some fucking interest that you need to protect in order to keep the money flowing.
Sulfuric acid, you get more than a reaction. You get an explosion. Because of the structure of the pyramid, this explosion could be controlled. But there's evidence that an uncontrolled explosion may have occurred. In 2001, in the Grand Gallery, scorch marks were discovered in the ceiling above where the resonators would have been. In the King's Chamber, cracks have been found in the granite beams. At first, this was thought to be caused by an earthquake, but the damage was only found in areas of the pyramid where the flow of highly compressed, heated hydrogen occurred. The walls in the King's Chamber have been pushed out over an inch. It takes a lot of pressure to...
So the way I think it works, just to put this into perspective, so people don't think I think that you have like 100,000 people talking together. I don't think that's how it works. I think you have a small group of people, like a very small group of people. Let's say 100 of the world's most powerful people have this idea of where they want the world to go. And before you think that is not possible, keep in mind that you have companies like BlackRock and Vanguard. These companies basically own the entirety of the world. They have stocks in every single company in the world. They even have stocks in competing companies in the world. So it's a fucking joke what these companies can achieve. Now, what you need is for those 100 people to be on board with the same idea. And all you need below you are useful idiots. All you need below you are a bunch of journalists that look at Twitter as if it's an actual news feed that is far more likely to cover their stories if it comes from Twitter. And if you don't think that the media is run by useful idiots, all I have to show you is two fucking trolls that managed to convince the mainstream media that Elon Musk fired them, and their names were Ligma and Johnson. And they managed to convince the mainstream media that Elon Musk had fired them. Why? Because they're not doing journalism. They're doing sensationalism. That's all they're doing. Yeah, there should be justice for Ligma Johnson. I agree with you. They don't do news. They don't actually research anything. They are there to create sensationalism. They are there to misdirect us from the actual truth. That is the fucking issue. Yeah, F in chat for Ligma Johnson, please. The dudes, like, Ligma Johnson had a hard life, and Elon Musk just fucking fired the guy. That is sad as fuck.
Push tons of granite out that far. The Great Step outside the King's Chamber also shows extensive damage like that from an explosion, not an earthquake. Other parts of the interior also show signs of charring. When the southern shaft was discovered, it was coated with salt about an inch thick. This would happen if hydrogen was boiling and bubbling up the shaft. What caused the pyramid power plant to explode is not known. But Christopher Dunn believes it was some sort of cataclysm, not an earthquake, but maybe an asteroid impact. There's a problem with this theory, though. The ancient Egyptians kept meticulous records of everything. There is no record of an impact during this time. Dunn believes it happened thousands of years earlier. And that brings me to this thought. Skeptics will say if the ancient Egyptians used electricity, there would be documentation, even hard evidence of it. You'll see true believers point to glyphs that look like light bulbs, but I honestly think that's a stretch. There's no evidence the Egyptians worked with glass or any components used to make a light bulb. So why is there no evidence of the use of electricity in ancient Egypt, and no record of electricity being generated by the Great Pyramid? Well, because the ancient Egyptians didn't build it. There really is no.
There is actual evidence the ancient Egyptians called themselves the benefactors of an ancient race. According to the ancient Egyptian texts, they didn't even build the pyramids. They say that they were the inheritors of an ancient race. Or they were the inheritors of a great ancient race, or some shit like that. I can't remember the exact wording. We've just always assumed that it is the ancient Egyptians that built the pyramids. But what if it wasn't? What if the pyramids were built long before the ancient Egyptians were even a people?
No debate by mainstream academics about the who, when, why, or how of the Great Pyramid. It was built by ancient Egyptians in 4500 BC as a tomb for Khufu, and that's that. But what if none of that is true? What if the ancient Egyptians didn't build the pyramid, but found it? And when they found it, it had been dormant for years, maybe thousands of years. Graham Hancock is a proponent of the Orion constellation theory. This says the Great Pyramid complex is almost a perfect match for the stars in the Orion constellation. But they don't line up to where Orion is today. They line up with where Orion was in the sky 13,500 years ago. We've discussed how the builders were obsessed with equinoxes. The Sphinx faces due east, and on the vernal equinox, the constellation that rose due east 13,500 years ago was Leo. Now, I'll concede the astronomical evidence could be a coincidence, but there is hard evidence that these structures are older than originally thought. You can't carbon date limestone, but there are clues that the pyramid and the Sphinx have been there for a long, long time. Robert Schock from Boston University believes the Sphinx and Giza complex is about 13,500 years old. Giza has been an extremely dry climate since the time of the pharaohs, but the Sphinx shows signs not only of wind and sand erosion, but also extreme water erosion. The erosion patterns around the base of the Sphinx could only occur if huge volumes of water are washing over the plateau at violent speeds. There's evidence this happened at the end.
Okay, so Sivanox, you just have to understand something. When they take constellations within the sky, it's usually related to the culture of the time. And also towards, like, we know that ancient civilizations have always been very fucking hard up. Even us, as humans, we're very hard up on the stars, right? We really care about the stars. So they usually go for things like which stars would be the most visible in the night sky. And then also based on the reading of text, things like Orion and Orion's belt have repeated itself so many times in their historical records, where it's clear that they made a big deal out of these things. It wasn't just sort of, oh, wow, this is a random star, let's go for it. And also, they usually do their due diligence. It's not like they just go for one set of stars. They go through all of the stars through a giant time period and see if anything could have lined up with these things perfectly in any of those time periods from any of those star systems. And usually, as it turns out with the Graham Hancock thing, I think they went over the span of 50,000 years. So they looked at the night sky, tracking it back over 50,000 years, looking at every single constellation of stars that could have aligned with the pyramids. And in the entirety of the 50,000 years, it was only the 3 stars of Orion's belt that aligned with the pyramids perfectly 13,500 years ago. Which is sort of weird, because you have so many stars in the night sky. Over 50,000 years, there would have been so many constellations that would have aligned with it. And out of all of that time, it is literally just that one constellation that seems to align with it perfectly. And so based on that, they usually go, okay, so this is probably why they built it. And it is just probably why they built it. But, you know, it is what it is. Just that they're looking for an answer and would have picked any date based on what aligned most conveniently. Or it isn't that. Because you could say convenience, but you're talking about a lot of convenience. Because almost all pyramids we find align with constellations perfectly at some period of time that also happens to align with when they may have been built. So is all of that coincidence? Because you can't just look at this in a vacuum. One may be a coincidence. Two, we could say, oh, that's strange, but still most likely coincidence. When you start getting to 3, 4, 5, 6, this is where you go, wait, what the fuck? Like, all of this could not just be coincidences. At some point, we have to start entertaining the idea that this was purposeful, that someone built these things to align with these things. The problem is that everyone just continuously goes, yeah, they were just looking for stars and they just happened to find the right one every single time, which is strange. But again, you know, people are going to believe what they want to believe, and most people will not believe shit like this because it's safer to just believe the quote-unquote experts.
End of the Younger Dryas, which marked the end of the last ice age in 9700 BC. Glaciers were thought to have melted rapidly. Within a few centuries, sea levels rose.
Wait, but they found the traces of helium. I mean, that's not a conspiracy theory. They literally found traces of helium. So, are you saying that that got there by accident? Then why didn't it go into all of the chambers? Why is it only in that one chamber that they find the helium? Why don't they find it anywhere else? I mean, that's just weird, no? If it is just there by accident, like, you know, apparently it can't be created, then we would find it everywhere, no? Damn it, I don't have time to think about pointless shit like the truth of the world. I'm too busy crafting. What are you crafting, bro? Massey, it's actually not the highest chamber. There's two chambers that's literally on an equal level. The one is filled with helium. I can't remember what the other one is filled with. But both of them are full, like traces of two different types on the same level. So it's not like the helium was found in the highest one. It's that there's two of them and both of them are on the same level, which is just weird. But hey,
500 feet. This is fast in geologic time.
So yes, this is
but
also
as more
could be
evidence was
possible.
gathered, melting appeared to happen in a matter of decades. This would cause dramatic changes in the Earth's climate. But when recent ice core samples were studied, things got even more dramatic. There's evidence that the last ice age didn't end over centuries or decades, but ended in one single day. Some claim that an asteroid impact caused the last ice age to end. A worldwide disaster like the Chicxulub impact that wiped out the dinosaurs. That's not what happened. An impact causes cooling. Recent studies show that there was a major solar event that happened around 9700 BC, basically the mother of all CMEs. A violent plasma storm hit the Earth and overwhelmed the Earth's magnetosphere, which is our defense against solar radiation. Without the protection of the magnetosphere, massive lightning strikes happened all over the Earth. Lightning that was orders of magnitude more intense than anything we've ever seen. This lightning was hundreds or even thousands of times more powerful than anything from a thunderstorm. There's evidence in over 120 countries of rock melted and turned to glass during this event. This is called vitrification. There's evidence of vitrification in moon rocks. We know for a fact large mammals like saber-toothed tigers and woolly mammoths were wiped out at this time. They didn't slowly go extinct, they instantly went extinct. During the 4 or 5 days of this event, the Earth was also awash in lethal radiation. Only animals that can go underground survived. Most of the human race died during this event. Only humans living near caves were able to find shelter and survive. If glaciers, which covered 30% of the Earth's surface, melted in a day or two, think of the speed, volume, and pressure of water that would rush across the Earth's surface. This water would act like a power washer on stone constructions like the Sphinx and pyramids.
Not scary at all.
Meanwhile, a sky full of plasma and lightning and radiation would have severely damaged the Great Pyramid if it was using a volatile chemical reaction to create power. Every culture has a flood myth that served as a reset of civilization. All those stories seem to point to a cataclysm at the end of the Younger Dryas. Myths of lost continents like Atlantis also fit into this timeline. Now, I'm not claiming anything I've said today is what happened, but I am saying there's evidence that it was possible that an advanced civilization existed thousands of years ago. That civilization had the technology to create unlimited clean energy. Then the glaciers melted, a great flood came, solar plasma and radiation destroyed a significant amount of life on the planet. The civilization then disappeared. Then thousands of years later, as the great Egyptian culture was forming, they would have utilized the pyramid, not for power, but for ceremonial or religious purposes. They would have altered the Sphinx, carving away the original design and replacing it with a design of their own. And we know this is what they did. Mainstream scientists are still not convinced, and that's okay. As time goes on and more secrets are revealed, sooner or later, we will learn the truth. And I suspect we'll learn that the pyramid power plant theory was right all along. Whoever built the pyramids created energy that wasn't harmful to the earth, but resonated in harmony with it. A suspicious person might wonder why, if this theory has been around for 50 years, nobody's tried to replicate it, even on a small scale. Unlimited clean energy for everyone on Earth sounds like a way for the entire human race to take a huge step forward. Think of the technological advances that could be made if electricity was free. Think of the political strife, economic instability, and the endless wars that could be avoided. But maybe what's happening now is what happened to Tesla 100 years ago. In Tesla's time, nobody was interested in creating technology that would make power free for everyone. Empires owned by JP Morgan, the Vanderbilts, and the Rockefellers would have been devastated. The Carnegies, the DuPonts, and the Mellons all would have seen significant losses. These families owned all the energy production and distribution in the United States. Their companies were the lifeblood of American industry. The families were American royalty. If Tesla was able to achieve his vision, not only would the wealth of these families be diminished, so would America's standing in the world as a great new industrial power. Tesla said he wanted to bring abundant electrical energy to remote, underdeveloped parts of the world, to foster closer communication between nations. This couldn't be allowed to happen. America and the corporations that controlled it would never have given up their advantage. They still won't. When Tesla died, the FBI and agents of the OSS were, for some reason, close by. Tesla's documents were stored in 80 boxes, all organized and numbered by Tesla himself. Only 60 boxes were discovered. And since then, a few scientists have stated that Tesla's invention would have never worked. But that's what scientists said of most of his inventions. Viewers of this channel know that most science is bought and paid for by corporations and governments. This is especially true in the last couple of years.
Get the jab!
Right.
Another jab! Another jab! Another!
Yep.
Whether those jabs work or not, you human pincushions are making people rich.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. 80% of the products we use today can be traced back to Tesla. But the technology that we really need, now more than ever, is inexpensive.
Yeah, but Massey, if I can create the light bulb wasn't the big breakthrough. It was the electricity that powered the light bulb. A light bulb without electricity is useless. So even if he did use light bulbs that Edison made, he could power them for free, forever. Whereas nowadays we pay for electricity very dearly, and we generate it using, one might argue, at least if Tesla's research was correct, we're powering our appliances with energy that is useless. We didn't have to do it. If true, of course. We wouldn't have had to do it. Right, come on, you pay for electricity and half the time don't get it either. So this is also true. Also flat earther, to my knowledge. I have no idea. Only a couple $100 tops. Tell Esquimaraco, Tesla's models can never work on large models and scales. Massey, do you know that for a fact? Or did science tell you that.
Expensive, clean energy. Sadly, that technology died with Tesla. Instead, the world went in the direction of coal and oil, and nations fought and
the reason you have to accept that even the powers of the day was scared of what Tesla was building. And this is why I genuinely do not agree with the large-scale idea that Tesla stuff wouldn't have worked. Yes, Alderson. Edison went and he basically said that alternating current is very dangerous, and then he used alternating current to electrocute elephants. Even though direct current will do the exact same fucking thing. Like, there's no difference. Direct current is just as dangerous as alternating current. So just that should show you. If you have to defend your point by being facetious and being dishonest, there's probably a good chance that you're hiding something, or at least you're not being forthcoming with your own goals and ideas.
Continue to fight wars
Yeah, I mean,
to control
surely.
these limited
Yeah.
resources. Oil, coal, and war may be terrible for the planet and the people who live on it, but they're great for business. And for all his genius, that's something Nikola Tesla never understood. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. My name is AJ, that's Hecklefish. This has been the Y-Files. If you had fun or learned anything, do us a favor and like, subscribe, comment, and share. I hate to give you homework, but that stuff really helps. And like most topics we cover on the channel, today's topic was recommended by you. And if there's a story you'd like to see or learn more about, go to theyfiles.com/tips. And special thanks to our patrons who make this channel possible. We couldn't do it without you. And if you'd like to support the Y-Files,
It's
consider
called the
becoming a member
Y-Files,
on
Sebi?
Patreon, or grabbing something from the Y-Files store.
Now, keeping this bowl topped off with vodka ain't cheap, you know.
It's not.
I'd like to upgrade from Stoli to Belvedere.
Don't push it. That's gonna do it. Until next time,
Yeah,
be
this
safe,
is a really good
be
fucking
kind,
channel.
and know that you are appreciated. I gotta sneeze. Couldn't get it.
Gesundheit.
Reminds me of the Star Trek episode where they found a civilization running on alternating current. Have you tested it out? Tested what out? No, I don't have any interest in testing shit like this out. I just like the idea of it. But this guy has so many fucking shit on his channel, bro. Like, so many videos that just question reality. Oh my god, wait, what? A hole to another dimension? What is this? Nature's nuclear reactions. Think about natural nuclear reaction operated for several 100,000 years. Oh, I've heard about this, Apocalypse. I have heard about this. Where nature builds its own reactors. True. I mean, there's so many things that... it's just weird. Is he talking about my anus again? I mean, is your anus a hole to another dimension? Pleasure Palace? Is that what it is? Do you think the truth always comes out given enough time, or can it be indefinitely suppressed? It depends. So something that I think is currently happening in our world is, and this is why a lot of the mainstream forces are so upset or careful with things like YouTube. We see it in China. With enough control, you can absolutely control truth for a really long time. But I don't know if you can suppress it eternally. I do think at some point the truth comes out. Look at alien sightings, for example, or let's not call them alien because most people are too fucking afraid to admit that that might be real. Let's just say UFOs, right? For more than 100 years, the CIA and the American government have tried to suppress the idea that UFOs are real. And now, with enough evidence and the freedom of information that YouTube and social media have offered, they really can't anymore. If the CIA or the Pentagon came out tomorrow and said, no, there's no UFOs, bullshit, it's never happened, most people would be like, but There's like an awful lot of information out there that literally proves that that's not true. There's definitely things that we don't know that's flying in the fucking night sky. So they're forced to come out with it. They're forced to admit that, okay, never mind. There might actually be a little bit of truth to these things. So yeah, I think you can hide it for a short time. I don't think you can hide it forever. I mean, people still think that Hannah died in an accident. The truth can definitely be suppressed. Yeah, that's the thing that scares me. I want to believe that you can't suppress it forever. I don't know, Apocalypse. The guy literally went to JRE podcast and explained what he seen with proof. True. You can say it's not true, Akko. No photos, so it didn't happen. Oh, yeah, of course. Aliens is politically incorrect. They identify as extraterrestrials. You need to do better. True. They need to find themselves a better fucking identity. All right, fuck it, chat. Since we're down the rabbit hole, let's really go down the rabbit hole. The hole to another dimension.
On Melwater's property in the Monastash Ridge west of Ellensburg, Washington, there's a hole in the ground that looks like a well. But it's not a well. Like the owners of the property before him, Mel used the hole as a trash dump. His neighbors used it too. Garbage, broken appliances, old tires, everything went into the hole. After a while, Mel started to wonder, why doesn't it fill up? And then he started to notice other strange things about the hole. His dogs wouldn't go near it. It caused his radio to pick up strange signals, and it didn't seem to have a bottom. Mel's curiosity became an obsession. Well, let's see if we can get to the bottom of Mel's hole.
Oh my god, so many sexual references.
Mel's hole is a round pit 9 feet 9 inches in diameter. There's a stone retaining wall built around it that goes down about 15 feet. After that, the hole extends down into darkness. Well, not only did Mel Waters and his wife dump everything in the hole, but so did his neighbors. And this has been going on for a long time, for years before Mel even moved in. Mel's neighbors said they couldn't remember a time when the hole wasn't there. So why can't you hear objects hitting the bottom? Why can't you hear your own echo? Mel set out to determine exactly how far down this hole goes. An avid fisherman, Mel had spools of fishing line on hand. So he attached a 1-pound weight to the line and sent it down the hole. It went 4,500 feet, the full length of the reel, and didn't hit bottom. He reeled the line up, attached a roll of lifesavers, and sent it all the way down again. Mel wanted to see if there was water at the bottom, and if there was, the lifesavers would come up dissolved, but they came up dry. And Mel had more spools of fishing line, each one 5,000 feet. He attached another spool, now down almost 10,000 feet, and still no bottom. Spool after spool of fishing line went down the hole. He could not reach the bottom. By the time Mel ran out of line, he was 80,000 feet down, over 15 miles, and still no bottom. While experimenting, Mel noticed that his dogs wouldn't come anywhere near the hole. Even when forced, the dogs would dig their feet in. There were no animals of any kind near the hole. No wildlife, no insects. Birds even flew around it. And since the hole was known to his neighbors, Mel asked around if anyone noticed their dogs feeling uneasy by the hole, and they all said yes. Then one of his neighbors said, "Speaking of dogs, not too long ago his dog died, so he threw its body into the hole." A few days later, that dog came back. After Mel's neighbor threw his dead dog into the hole...
Why? Just why?
I don't know.
You can't bury it.
I really don't know.
Sometimes humans are very disappointing.
They certainly can be. Anyway, a couple of days after disposing of his dog's body down the hole, he saw it running through a wooded area near the property. Now, he knew it was his dog because it was wearing the same collar, but for some reason, the dog didn't come when he called. And the dog acted like he didn't know his owner at all.
Ooh, maybe it's a version of his dog from another dimension.
Well, that's definitely a theory. And as the weird stories piled up and the fishing line kept going down, Mel was at a loss. He was
out of his depth.
Right. Mel needed help figuring out exactly what this hole was. And in 1997, there's only one place to discuss the strange and mysterious and be taken seriously. Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell.
From the high desert and the great American Southwest, I bid you all good evening and or good morning wherever you may be across this great land of ours.
Coast to Coast was on hundreds of stations around the world and had 10 million listeners. If anyone could help Mel, it was Art Bell and his audience. Mel sent Art a message on February 21st, 1997. Art called him, and Mel's hole became known to the world. Over the course of several shows, Mel Waters would reveal more and more details about the mysterious hole. The good news is Mel was getting really good advice from people all around the world, like use a laser to measure or use radar to check the distance. The bad news is now millions of people knew about this hole, and from clues given by Mel on the radio, you can get a pretty good idea of where it was. The day after the first broadcast, Mel was returning to his property, but the entrance was blocked.
The government.
Yep. The US military was now aware of the hole, and they wanted it, all to themselves.
Fucking military, bro. I'm telling you, this shit is real probably. And there is probably a hole that is just filled with fucking like people, mole people or some shit. And the military is suppressing this shit, boys. I'm telling you.
After the show on Friday night, I went out there and noticed there were some helicopter activity around the property. There was further helicopter activity the next day, and so I figured that clearly somebody out there listens to your program.
Oh, yes.
Mel said that the hole could affect things in the environment around it. Animals avoided it, but plants seemed to grow extremely well. Radios acted weird. If Mel brought a radio near the hole, the signal would get very staticky and then start picking up broadcasts from somewhere else. One day his radio started picking up what he describes as old-time music. So he goes to change the channel and tunes into a baseball game.
Boys.
Point behind the St. Louis first baseman. Went on second, 2 outs.
This is fine until he learns the game was played in 1967, 30 years ago. Art's first call with Mel goes on for about an hour and then they wrap up. Mel was staying in Ellensburg for a couple of days and had made the call from there. When Mel Waters returned from town, the access road to his property was blocked by armed military personnel, and there was evidence that heavy machinery had been brought in. Mel was told there was a plane crash on the property, but there was no report of a crash, no fire, no smoke. Still, Mel was told he couldn't access the property until the crash was completely investigated. When Mel asked to speak to the person in charge, a man in civilian clothes told him that
The internet seems to be acting up, boys. Hopefully it's fine now. All right.
the land was not necessarily his anymore, and it would be very easy to find a drug lab on the property if he didn't leave. Mel threatened to go to the press. The man in charge,
Man in Black,
the man in black, told him, go ahead and talk. Nobody would believe it. But Art Bell and his audience would believe it. And a few days later, Art called Mel for an update. Mel said that a neighbor saw a dark beam coming out of the hole and up through the clouds, darker than anything he'd ever seen. Now, Mel admitted he didn't see this himself, but Art Bell and several callers said that this part of Washington has a lot of UFO sightings, disappearances, and other paranormal activity. Callers had their own theories. Maybe the hole was sitting on a ley line and there was a portal to another dimension. Or it was a portal through time, and that's why everything thrown into it disappeared. Maybe somewhere in an alternate reality, there's a big pile of garbage, old appliances, and dead animals just piling up. Who knows? One caller thought this could be a tunnel to the hollow earth.
Ooh, like a subway for lizard people.
Something like that. There were a lot of theories. And since Mel couldn't access his property anymore, he talked to other locals trying to get more information. An elderly neighbor said that many years ago, there was a series of stone columns around the hole.
Like Stonehenge?
Right, but without the cross beams, which are called lintels.
Lentils?
Lintels.
What'd I say?
Someone from the audience reminded Mel that calling into the show is a big mistake because obviously the government is listening. So the show ends and Mel agrees to come back for an update. On the day Mel is scheduled to reappear, he's a no-show and not picking up his phone.
Oh my God, it goes even deeper, boys. My money, my family, everything's gone. Dude, the fucking government, bro.
Maybe my audience is not aware, but a television crew went up to Ellensburg after we did the last program and researched this. And I'll be doggone, they didn't find the hole, but they did find near the area where you were talking about a lot of military boot prints and all kinds of information that would indicate the military, in fact, had been there or was there.
Oh, they would have probably seen a lot of yellow gear tread marks in the ground.